Welcome back. Great to see you this afternoon. Levelling Up Secretary Michael Gove sparked a row in the Commons today after claiming a new Cumbrian coal mine would be net zero compliant and create 500 jobs in the area. Joining us live from West Yorkshire is climate consultant Louise Marix-Evans. Hello, Louise. Thank you for joining us. And also joining us is Jason Reed, Conservative commentator. So shall we start with Louise on this one? Louise, there's been an avalanche, I think it's fair to say, of criticism of this idea. I'll just read out some of it. I've got a whole list here. Lord Debden, chairman of the Climate Change Committee, said the scheme was absolutely indefensible. Alok Sharma, who we all know was president of the COP26 climate conference in Glasgow, said approval would damage Britain's international reputation. Do you want me to carry on? I can, I will. Ed Miliband, the shadow climate minister, said the mine was a terrible idea. There are loads more criticism, a torrent of criticism. Are you going to join that criticism, Louise?
Absolutely. But what I would say first is that I used to live in West Cumbria, and what I think people want there are good jobs that are sustainable, jobs that can be planned for, that people don't need to, so you don't need to move away from the area. And I think we all want these good, clean, secure jobs. And this decision to open a coal mine is a really short-term, short-sighted decision in so many ways. Well,
tell me a few of the ways.
It's not going to level up West Cumbria.
Tell me some ways, because everyone keeps saying a terrible idea, appalling, dreadful, but nobody's explaining why. You explain why. Why isn't it a fabulous idea?
So that the alternatives are, it's a high-carbon, dirty industry. It's got only a very short-term market. 85% of the coal dug up is going to go abroad anyway, because our steel industry, which is needing to decarbonise rapidly in the UK, they don't want that coal. And there are other jobs that could be had in West Cumbria that are much better. So jobs in advanced manufacturing, that currently supports over 16,000 jobs anyway. So we could expand advanced manufacturing. We could expand construction jobs, which could be used to make homes more energy efficient. And that goes to every corner of Cumbria. So you could tackle the energy crisis that people are suffering from, which knocks on into health, by creating a really good supply chain of people who can go in and fit out people's houses so that they're better. There's jobs in Sellafield already. We've got a nuclear industry and we've got a lot of offshore there, so that could be expanded. So renewable energy, clean advanced manufacturing, high quality jobs, which make for an aspirational economy in West Cumbria, which used to be called the Energy Coast. So there's been like bitty plans for this. But if the government put its shoulder to the wheel and said, right, we'll say no to coal, and we'll say yes to clean, green, sustainable jobs that make us a climate leader and grow the economy there, I think that is a much better alternative.
Jason Reed, what do you think? You're listening patiently, but do you agree with what Louise is saying?
I don't. I think it's completely wrong to focus on this coal mine in this way and to call for it to be rolled back, as Louise and so many are doing. The fact is that the British steelmaking industry still relies on coal to a large extent. And of course, in the long term, they are transitioning to renewable sources of energy. And in fact, this coal mine, according to Michael Gove, I think he said it's 2049, it's already due to go offline. So it hasn't even become active yet. And they've already set in stone a date when it will no longer be used. But in the short term, we are still needing coal. And what we've seen recently is so much coal being imported from elsewhere in the world, much of it from America, some of it even from Russia, which of course doesn't make any sense if what we care about is helping the planet, because it's still using coal and we're just emitting more carbon dioxide by shipping it halfway across the world. And I'm sorry to hear that Louise isn't happy about this. Unfortunately, the vast majority of the residents in the local area don't agree. I believe the figure is 90% of the local residents, according to a poll quoted by the Conservative mayor, suggests that a huge volume of people do support it and do want the jobs that it's going to bring, and it's going to be a good thing for that community.
Louise, what would you respond to that? A local approval and enthusiasm?
Actually, there's lots of people in Cumbria who are really gutted by this decision at the moment. And there've been, I think we can expect to see quite a lot of protest about it. I would really say that, I visited Tata Steel at Port Talbot, a very industrial place that completely relies on an industry there for steel. And they are fast aiming to decarbonise, and they're saying that people are asking them, their suppliers need greener steel. They're competing with German and Swedish steel, which is being produced in a much lower carbon way. So the UK steel industry needs to adjust to that fast, and they are waiting for decisions from government to help them decide whether to go down an electric or a hydrogen route. People talk about continuing to use coal with carbon capture and storage. That's an unproven, it's a technology that's not currently used to that scale at the minute. So actually what they're doing, this short-term decision, is not only failing people in Cumbria with a very short-term demand for this coal that will be mainly exported, and we're setting them up for like a second industrial decline and letting down another generation. So people might be pleased in the short term, they might believe these job projections, but I'd much rather work in a clean factory, a high-tech factory, making something that is good for the planet and that tackles some of the local impacts we see in Cumbria, like flooding and so on, than have a sort of a boom and bust. And then get let down yet again.
Thank you, Louise. Let me give Jason a very brief chance to respond. Jason, boom and bust, short term, not good for the planet, embarrassing for Alex Sharma, just in every way a terrible idea. You say the locals are enthusiastic. Louise doesn't think so. Do you think this is just a short-term solution?
It is a short-term solution. The government's been very open about that, because clearly the long-term solution is renewables. Look, let's put this in context. This is one coal mine we're talking about in the context of the global coal industry, which is going to have to be rolled back in the next few decades if we're going to achieve net zero globally. Other economies like China are pummeling huge amounts of money into coal while we are fretting over one single coal mine. It seems a lot of these objections are about image rather than substance. What if we give the wrong impression? I'm more worried about the image of the British economy and British industry. Other countries can erect skyscrapers in 5 minutes, and meanwhile in Britain it takes years to get planning permission for a shed. I think we should just allow British industry to flourish, and if that means one coal mine coming along, I'm all right with that.
Well, thank you very much indeed to you both.